David, listen, it's fantastic to see, and I really, really appreciate this because you have been through one hell of a lot, particularly in recent times. And I know how hard it is to even communicate like this. So the fact that you're doing this, as I say, it does mean a lot. First of all, let's maybe just talk about the things in the recent days. So What's happened? Everything was fine one day, and then your world collapsed.
So 3 months ago, actually, my tumor metastasized to my brain. So I was back up in Aviemore playing golf. I went out to Chamonix to work at UTMB, and then I went for a bike ride in Switzerland for 3 hours. I came back to the hotel, and then I was like violently sick and started to drift into like conscious, unconscious states. And then I woke up the next day, went for a 5K walk, flew home, went to Jamaica for 3 weeks, playing golf, gym. And then I got on the plane from Jamaica to come back home to London. And it was like the most bizarre flight I'd ever sat on. I never watched a movie. I just sat there in this weird kind of comatose state, got back to London. Then the next minute I was rushed into hospital. I had 2 emergency brain surgeries. There was 3 tumors in my brain. One was the size of an orange. So that got taken out. And then I got treated with radiotherapy in December. And everything was fine. And then there was a little nodule popped back up in the spinal cord, which has always been the tumor that's always been the sort of kryptonite of it all. But they're very slow growing tumors. And usually in the last 16 years, I've been managing to row, cycle, ski, golf, everything. So I started a new drug that was going to sort of control the tumor. But it takes 3 months for that drug to really kick in. And I'd only been on it 2 weeks. And I was back in the gym doing all my rehabilitation. I was boxing. I was going to the gym for 3-4 hours a day, back playing golf. And then on Monday, 2 weeks ago, I went out to Holland, out to Nike to do some work at Nike. Got on the train on Tuesday to come home. Woke up on Wednesday morning, felt fine, had my coffee, listening to a podcast. And at 2:50 in the afternoon, my right arm started to just slowly stop working. By 3 p.m., I was fully quadriplegic. I had enough strength in my finger to call my wife to say, "Look, you need to get home from work now." So she got home. We got an ambulance up to hospital. And then the next day they walk in with it's like the Grim Reaper of palliative care saying, "Well, the mean average of this is 4 months." And then for the last, I've kind of lost track of time now, but for the last two or 3 weeks, I've just been lying here, and all I can really do is, and I feel very lucky actually, because if I genuinely saw when I was in my bed, I said a prayer because I thought I could feel that it was just going to go up into the brain and that would be me. So I thought my wife would come home and just find me lying in her bed. Just that was it. But thanks. So I feel very lucky. I can still talk, but it was pretty challenging one day to be on your feet, traveling, boxing, gymming, golfing, and then the next minute just lying here completely unable to move and not really knowing. Like I'm quite stoic anyway, but not really knowing what the next, like, what is it? Is it 4 months? Is it 8 months? So I did a lot of work with Professor Steve Peters. He's like my psych, so he came down and see me and said, "I'll give you the 2 scenarios. The worst case scenario is what they've delivered, but bearing in mind that's delivered on a population group. Could only be 5 people. You don't know how many people are in the population group." So he said, "Look, I'll give you that's the worst case scenario, but let's shoot for the best case scenario, and we can write that rule book."
So, God, yeah, it seems like it's kind of almost a silly thing to ask, but that must have been a really terrifying moment when you say, you start to kind of lose your feeling, and then to be, to lose all feeling below your neck, effectively. That must have been pretty terrifying.
So I'm no hero and I'm no Superman, but because I've lived with this for 16 years and I've had I'm on 9 surgeries. I thought I was going to die in October. And I've done a lot of inner work and psychology work. But when it started to all happen, I managed just to stay calm. Because I do quite well in this situations under pressure. So I just I was like, well, there's no point getting stressed because that's going to make the whole situation worse. And if I am about to take my final breath, I want to do it in a place with faith and contentment and peace. So I've kind of already been planning that for many, many years. So I was like, I don't want to go stressed. I want to go in a certain way. So I've actually kind of prepared for that. So it's not to say that I was this super strong person. I just felt like I was in the hands of God, and I was in this place where I was like, okay, if this is my final breath, that's okay.
Well, that's an amazing thing to say and to be aware of. And I suppose that's, as you say, you've. I was thinking this the other day when I was thinking about you and your situation, and I thought, God, life has thrown the whole leap of, you know what, in your direction, and the way that you've handled it. It's almost like you've constantly got to fight a battle. You get over one battle, and then something else comes your way, and it must build up so much inner strength. It's not just the outward strength, and you're clearly
Yeah.
you've done amazingly well with all your fitness, and much fitter than I would say the majority of people out there. But it's that inner core strength and faith that seems to have played a big part in that for you as well, right?
Huge, huge. And only this latterly, only just since October, and I was actually baptized in my bed here 2 weeks ago. And so it's only just latterly come in. But I've always lived with virtues and values and principles. And I think that's also what made me a level of acceptance that I've lived a life like I wouldn't change anything. Got to grow up in the Highlands of Scotland. I've got great friends. There's been like an influx of Highlanders arrive here every day. So they're like flying down, and we just share all our stories of growing up doing sport. And one of my best friends, Noel, but actually he's here at the moment. So we were sharing all our stories of skiing and stuff. And so there's all these memories that we have. And I just thought, wow, okay, I wouldn't change a thing. And then in October, then I was getting baptized a few weeks ago. That just sort of brought everything into alignment of to be like, well, okay, this is like I can't change the situation. I can only change how I respond to it, and that's in the essence of suffering. But if I don't respond in a way that is, I guess, in a beneficial way, then I'm going to suffer a lot more. So the situation is not great, and it would be very easy to grieve and suffer. But then I'm like, well, I can't change it. That's just going to make my days a lot longer and my nights a lot longer. So I tell people when they turn up to turn up with a smile, some chocolate and apple juice, and have a laugh.
On a practical level, how hard has it been? Because when we were speaking on text the other day, you'd
Yeah,
mentioned that you had an itch on your head, and it's these small things which we don't even think about. And then it didn't. You really made me think. So I thought, God, it's something as small as that, which must be even that you can't, you can't do. So from a practical, I know you've experienced paralysis to a certain degree already,
yeah,
so you've
yeah,
already had to acclimatize, but this is on a completely
yeah.
different level. And even you speaking to me, this is why I really, really appreciate you doing this, because I know how hard it is for you to even be speaking to me now. But voice recognition, I mean, what's that period been like since since this all happened?
So the scratch and head thing's a nightmare, and I kind of like do this to get to it. But what I've discovered, if I turn on the fan and I blast the fan on level 3, it keeps my head cool, but it still doesn't stop an itchy nose at like 3 in the morning. That becomes like a huge test of psychological it's torture. But I can get little places where I have a little scratch, and I tell people to scratch me like a dog. It's like if you're scratching me, just imagine I'm a dog and you give me a good itch. So that's definitely hard. Eating's hard because I have to be spoon fed. And then obviously then that's pretty challenging because if I'm hungry, I can't eat, can't drink. So I need constant people to basically I need 24-hour care for people to drink me, feed me, and then bed baths. That's all challenging. But I make when we have a bed bath that we always sing. We always sing Bob Marley. So that's the rule in any bed bath tournament that we have, we bring good energy. But it is challenging, that's for sure, the little things. And then the voice activation all I keep telling people, it's like the still game advert trying to get to the floor. I'm not going to say the number because it'll flip us off the screen. But that's the number I have to say to do everything on the phone. And I'm sure someone programmed in there just to wind me up.
And is it Clive, the voice that you've got, who helps you out?
Well, I think that's what his name is. Yeah, that's what he's been christened. So I'm not sure if that's who he is or not, but he's definitely sitting somewhere having a whiskey, laughing at me.
Love your sense of humor because it is remarkable. So many people, if they were going through this, would just want to curl up in a ball and just go, want to go. They really would, or they would, they wouldn't know how to handle it. But the way that you're handling this is just extraordinary, Dave.
Thank you. I don't think there's a right and wrong way. I think everyone has their way. I just feel very, very lucky that some way through my nurture nature, maybe living with a bunch of mad Highlanders, that it just gave me some form of strength somewhere along the line to be like, you know what? Like, I love life. I love people. I love life. I just live for every day. I've got a beautiful view all over London right now. I sit and watch it every day. And I started to change my philosophy of life because I always talk about a journey to a destination. And I thought that's very seductive to the ego. And the ego wants to get to the destination. When I get to the destination, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be content. But I missed the journey. And the journey is beautiful. So I started to think about it as a dance with the music. And I thought, if you go to an opera to listen to an aria or a concert, you don't go to get to the end of the show. You want to be with the beat of the music, and you don't want the beat of the music to end. And I love that dance with the music. And I said to my wife the other day, I was like, look, my music's still playing. My music's not turned off yet. I'm still dancing. And we're not trying to get to a destination or anything. We're just having a dance with the music. And the song that's playing right now is a good song. Still got the music playing. So that's kind of how I'm managing it. And it's keeping me sort of just in the moment.
Oh, you're just so massively inspirational. Honestly, that's really magical what you've just said. And I guess, as I say, it's you've danced quite a lot in your life. You've had lots of.
Very badly, Heather. Very badly.
I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure you've danced very well and very crazily over the years. I wanted to ask you, just in terms of like the medical side of it, what actually caused this last bit, this complete paralysis?
So basically, the tumor is a physiologically slow-growing tumor, and it normally grows really slow. And nobody can understand why over the last 3 weeks it accelerated. And all it did is it started to accelerate. It grew from 15 millimeters to 30 millimeters. And as I lay down on the bed on that Wednesday afternoon, it just started to press into the cord. So it'd almost just be like pressing your hand into a balloon. And as it just kept pressing in, slowly the nerve signals stopped to work and the body just switches off. It was in slow motion, but there's no, like I've spoke to all my professors as we looked, all the scans, and everyone is scratching their head going that it doesn't make sense to how that would react. But they were amazing here. They got me in. I've had 3 emergency bouts of radiotherapy, which is really key. And then I'm on my drug. It takes the drug 3 months to really kick in. So the sort of hope is that I'm not giving up and not moving. I'm really not giving up and not moving, because I think if the radiotherapy works, it shrinks it a little bit. The drug kicks in, shrinks it a bit more. And then that's somebody taking their hand out of the balloon, that the air might flow again. And in my case, the air is nerve signals. And then from there, it's just about doing some rehabilitation. And right now, like if I don't get my legs, that's okay. But I would love my right arm because it means I can scratch my head or feed myself. That would be the biggest gift in the world that I could be given. It's just a bit of function in my right arm.
Yeah, I completely get that. And that does make sense. Makes absolute sense what you've just said about the finger in the balloon and hopefully the radio. Why, you mentioned having 4 months to live. Why is the prognosis so short?
So
Has it gone, why has this suddenly made it, so short and so different?
I think because I've been obviously challenging this for 16 years now. And when they collect data, because everything's collected on data and evidence, and that data pool could be 5 people, could be 10 people, it could be 1,000 people. My tumor is so rare. So the data pool is probably very, very small. They also might be a lot older than me. But so where they are probably taking that information and data from is its location, and also the complications that may occur if the radiotherapy doesn't work and it starts to grow more. Then it can push up into the brainstem. The brainstem becomes unstable, and eventually you just drift off. You just drift off asleep. So there's a lot of things that are way out of my control, and then they give you that number, which I think is kind of, it's weird. I don't know if I want the number or not. When they first hit me with the number, it was terrifying. It was genuinely like, oh my God. But then in the same breath, I'm like, well, no, Steve, you're just like, let's push on, because things may work and there's miracles happen, and the drug does work. The radio works. Like when I started getting radiotherapy at UCLH, they've given me an extra 6 years of life. So I know it works. I know it is the best treatment for my tumor.
Yeah. So what they're going to do now then? How much radio have you got to have? So over the
So
next.
I had the emergency dose. I had 3 doses. So the next plan is we'll scan in 6 weeks. And when we scan in 6 weeks, we'll see what impact has been had from the radio. And then I'm on this drug. And then after this drug, there's another 3 drugs that I can go on to, which if they all work, they could actually shrink the tumor. So I'm living in this hopeful mindset that radio just takes the edge off it, and then the drug kicks in, and you can turn 4 months into 2 years, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows,
So,
indeed.
yeah. So it's that unknown.
You've fought a lot of fights though. I can see you fighting this one and giving it
I
your
am.
all.
Yeah. I would not fight it. I would not fight it. I always want to try and keep going for as long as possible, not just for me, but for my family.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. How are your family? How's your wife?
It's
How's she
hard.
handled
It's
it?
hard. It's hard for my wife. She's she's like a problem solver, and a very analytical mindset, and wants to get things sorted and stuff like that. And so it's hard. It's hard when you watch the energy and you're like, well, okay, you have to go home and you're not here. But what I said to her, I said, focus on what we have, focus on what we've done, and also focus that our song is still playing. That's the thing. So the locus of control of what's happening in our life right now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not great. You'd rather have me home doing the washing and the dishes, but actually, we've had an incredible love story. It's beautiful. I wouldn't change anything. It was the only lady I'd ever wanted to marry in my life, and I think focus on that. Some people never find that, so it's like that. That's beautiful, and it might last. For some people, it lasts 80 years, and that's beautiful. And you see them in their 90s, and then other people get 10 years, 5 years, 2 years. It's just, life is such a roller coaster of songs, right? And you just don't know what you're going to get. And I said, look, we've been blessed that we might never have met each other. But it's hard. If I was on my own, it might have been easier. So, because you don't have to watch somebody else hurt. And I love humans. I don't like to see people hurt. So when I watch and I see people hurt and trying to stay strong, it's really hard for me.
Yeah. When did you guys meet, and how did you meet?
We met in London. We've been together now 10 years, and she's Jamaican. So we've had amazing adventures over in Jamaica, and just all sorts of, even after brain surgery, I said to her, look, we're not going to wait around. We've been Switzerland, France, Abu Dhabi, and then we were supposed to be in Jamaica. Actually, we were supposed to be in Jamaica yesterday. But so we've just had this just full on adventure of, when she had me on a camel in Abu Dhabi 3 weeks ago, and then I came back to my oncology, and the oncologist was like, you look quite tired. Where have you been? I was on a camel in Abu Dhabi 2 days ago. And the oncologist was like shaking her head. So then we were up flying in microjets and in the Alps, just pushing. So she pushed me to the max. And actually what she did, that we're always so grateful for. I never thought I'd ski again after the paralysis in 2016. And she wanted to start skiing. So we went out to France, and actually she got me skiing again. And last April we went skiing, and for 5 years I've been wanting to ski over the mountain and I was too scared. And last year she pushed me and we skied to the very last lift, to the point when the chair came into the station. I had no strength left. I couldn't stand up and I fell off the chair and got dragged round. And then when this all happened, she's like, you know what? You skied right to the very end. You fought to the end. So it's I mean, I love her a bit.
She sounds awesome. What's her name?
Angela.
Angela, you sound amazing. So,
She's at home right now. I sent her home to do the washing.
Oh, love it. So reel me back, Dave, because I think for the purpose of people who don't know too much about your history, you're most well known certainly in British sport for what you achieved in 2012 as a rower at the Paralympics, winning gold, which was phenomenal. But you have done so much. I actually had to remind myself about the other sports because you come from Dunfermline originally, and you got heavily involved in Dunfermline, and I know because Dunfermline's very close to where I live, actually.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I know lots of people who go through the Dunfermline running club system through Petruvi. And you yourself, you were there and you were, competing, and was it 400 meters?
Yeah, so I actually left Dunfermline when I was 2 to move to Newtonmore. So we moved up to Newtonmore, then I played shinty. So I played shinty my whole childhood, karate, skiing, water skiing. And then around about the age of 18, I started training down in Dunfermline again, and I used to train with Ian Mackey. So I was good friends with Ian Mackey at the time. So I used to drive all the way from Aviemore to Dunfermline to do athletics. I won at East of Scotland 400 meters, did some 200 meters, and then from there it led into, I ended up actually back on the British ski team coaching. So I got a job with the British ski team coaching. So I was traveling on the World Cup circuit with Alan Baxter, Finlay Mickle, Noel, Dave Ryden actually, and did that for a bit. And then that led into 6 years on the British rowing team, and then 8 years on the British cycling team. And then latterly I just took up golf, and I played in the Scottish Disability Golf Open last year. And the goal was to get onto the DP Tour and see how far I could have taken that. But I'm not giving up on that yet either. I messaged Scottish Golf the other day to say, look, I found a club that you just press a button and it fires the ball. Is that allowed? So no, I feel really blessed. I wouldn't say I was great at any of those sports. I just had this opportunity where I got to jump in and experience like fighting and karate in Japan, and just like skiing all over the world, and then the rowing stuff at London was incredible. And then the cycling stuff was a great experience. In the cycling, became close to a lot of guys in the team, and and what I said is that I've donated my medal from London to Newtonmore Primary School. So hopefully that will inspire the children of the future of, if you have a dream, just go for it. But the biggest thing I took from my sport was my friendships.
That's so nice. Oh, the kids will absolutely love it as well. It's a great part of the world. Obviously, you were on a good pathway in lots of different sports when you were first starting out. So when did what started changing for you? Was it in 2010 when you found out that you had a tumor in your spine, and then your subsequent operation? Is that when everything sort of
That's
changed?
when everything started to change. Yeah. So 2010 was I was training with British Rowing at the time. Started to have some issues. Started to have drop off in performance, and at that point they started doing all the tests, and eventually a test comes back saying, we found a tumor, and we need to cut it out. So that was the first surgery in 2010. There was some confusions around that surgery where I suffered a stroke. And then I went into surgery at 100 kilos and came out at 65 kilos. Sport doesn't wait for anyone. I only had 11 months to the world champs and 2 years to London. So it was like, okay, here's the plan, here's the strategy, let's go. So we attacked it, and it all came to fruition, which was incredible. And then I kind of thought at that point that was it. And then unfortunately it grew back, and then there was another surgery. Then it grew back again in 2015. And then in 2016, I went in for a surgery. So then I was in hospital for a year. I get out for a year, do all my rehabilitation, and the tumor goes straight back again. So then I move hospitals. And then for the first time in 7 years, I'm put under the care of oncology. And that's where they use radiotherapy for the first time. and I get 5, almost 6 years free. So
Wow.
I entered this arena 16 years ago, and it's just been this like constant scan, surgery, scan, surgery, scan, surgery. Finally, thankfully, I moved to London and got put under the care of a proper oncology team. And then that's when if I hadn't done that, I would have been dead 7 years ago.
And you
I don't
came
know.
out then, and was it one side of your body?
Yeah, so I woke up in ICU and I was like, I can't move, can't move. And then my first thing was like, right, what's my goal? Right, my goal is to get back on the cycling team and cycle across the Alps. And I was like, I'm going to work for that. And that became my focus. So for the whole time in the hospital, and I was transferred to Stoke Mandeville, and I was like, that's my goal. And then, so eventually when I got out, I managed to ride for Great Britain again. And then when the tumor grew back again, I had a window of time. I jumped on a plane through to Lake Geneva, and I cycled 740 kilometers across the Alps with one leg, a tumor crushing my cord, and did it in 7 days. And it was, and I thought that's that I got that goal. And that's what drove me from being paralyzed in ICU to get all the way to Monaco from Geneva.
That's incredible. I can't believe that you did that. Did you? I'm presuming you had an adaptive bike, or
No,
how?
no, just
No
climbed on it,
way.
Heather, and rode it.
That is how did you do that? I mean, I've done
I don't know.
I went on a Doddy Weir, the My Name's Doddy Foundation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I did the bike ride with them from Edinburgh to Rome 2 years ago via Monaco. So we would have done some of the route.
So you know the roads. You know the roads.
Yeah, and I can tell you, that's damn hard. That is remarkable.
And then I had a call with the Mayo Clinic in America after it, and he's like, "I'm looking at your scans. Can you send me a recent picture?" So I sent him a picture of me at the top of the very last call above Monaco, and he's like, "No, I need a recent picture." I said, "That was yesterday," and he was like, "What?" So
That is
that's
amazing.
why, in many ways, I lie here now in solace, knowing that I lived a life well lived, and if I'm coming close to the final breath, I can hopefully leave an impact on people's lives. I want to raise. I want going forward from here. I would like to raise more money. I had a school named after me in Cambodia yesterday, so
Wow.
I would like. I've written a book with Steve Peters, and Chris is forwarding it, and the goal of the book is that 100% goes to cancer research in Scotland, and the other 50% of cancer research in Scotland, 50% to the schools in Cambodia from the Khmer Rouge. And hopefully that if I'm not here in a physical being, that my spirit and soul and story can raise money and help people with cancer in the future, but also help the kids in Cambodia.
Wow. It's just yet another thing. You're just kind of like gobsmacked when you hear what you're doing. How did the Cambodia stuff come along?
Through a guy called Martin Murray and through Chris Hoy. About 3-4 years ago, Martin was looking for a speaker, and Chris said, "Oh, I'll connect you with David." So Martin flew me out a bunch of ex-Scottish guys that live over there, and we had a dinner, and I think we raised over £500,000 at the dinner. And then 2 years ago, Chris, Jason Cooley, and myself all went out. We did a talk at the dinner again, and then we went and we cycled 255 kilometers through Cambodia, and we visited all the schools, dropped off Chris's book, and met all the kids. And I think we almost raised getting close to 2 million on that trip. And through all of that, people kept saying, "Have you written a book? Have you written a book?" I said, "Yeah, I've called it Be Where Your Feet Are." And they named the school, the David Smith School, Be Where Your Feet Are, changing one child's life at a time. And 2 weeks ago, the trustees said, "Look, we're opening a school this weekend. We want to put the school in your name." To be honest with you, I was lost for words. I was a right little toe rag at school. I never thought they would be naming a school after me. But I just thought, wow, you can have such a huge impact. The kids who started off in that charity, they're now 18, 19 at the very start. And actually one of them wants to be the Prime Minister. And the whole school is based on football and sport and education. So I've got to thank Chris and Martin Murray for sort of bringing me into that space.
Wow, that's yeah, that is pretty amazing. So I'm presuming from what you've said, you're pretty pally with Sir Chris Hoy, and a man who himself has had a lot of challenges, but is just tackling them with incredible, you know, again, just such an inspiration. I don't know how he's managing to do it, because he's, it's not just Chris, but it's, his wife as well. They've got so much on.
He's an incredible man. We've become very close. Actually, it was funny because they took me out in my wheelchair the other day for the first time. And as the lift door opened, him and Jason Queally were standing outside the lift. So they'd come down to see me, and we went out onto our roof terrace in London together. We had a little bit of time just having a laugh about the Cambodia stuff. But yeah, what he's doing with just rewriting that rule book, the Tour de Four, and the money he's raised, and they're doing it again this year, and he could get up to like £4 or £5 million money I've raised this year. And just the way he shows up every day, it's just incredible, and and also I said to him when he was here the other day, I said, "Do you know how many lives you've saved? Like with pushing the PSA stuff and pushing all of this, there you've saved, and you will continue to save millions of lives, which is just incredible." So yeah, so it's he's an incredible human being.
It's so true what you say. And I'm guessing he's been quite an inspiration for you as you now face your own challenge.
Yeah, huge. I think we bounce off each other quite a bit, and just help each other on the bad days or good, and even on the good days. And we had so many funny stories from Cambodia that when him and Jason were down here the other day, we were just laughing about all the obscure moments in Cambodia of people eating tarantulas and us trying to cycle through, and just all those little memories. And that's what I realized when you're lying in this situation now. Memories are the most important, and the experience in your friendships. And I'm not thinking back to any 50-inch TV I might have bought. I'm just thinking about all the laughs and the jokes and the training sessions. And it's great because all the people are coming to visit. There's like crossovers. So if I'm tired, I just close my eyes and I just listen to them all talking about their different sports and different adventures in the Highlands and everything. And it just fills me with so much joy that I could have been part of other people's joyful moments in life.
Yeah, totally. What other crazy moments were there in Cambodia? I'm loving the eating
Oh,
tarantulas.
I remember there was one moment, and it was quite funny. I was really struggling. I was in bits. And Chris is like, "I'm going to put on some music," because we were in the middle of nowhere. It was like 28 degrees. And Bob Marley pops up, "Don't worry about a thing." And, and I'm thinking, is this some sort of sick joke? And then later on, Jason Queally was like, "I think that was quite sick." But I thought it was just this obscure moment of just like, I couldn't pedal anymore. And here's Bob Marley just singing the Three Birds to me out of Chris's back pocket. And it was just one of those moments where I thought that is funny. And yeah, and eating the tarantulas was quite an experience.
Never been there, but I would. I'd quite like to go there. We talk in sport a lot, as you know, about legacy and but like the best moments ever. I'm always asking a gold medalist, whether it's Paralympic level, World Championship level, Olympic level, whatever. Was that the best moment in your life? So I just wanted to ask you two things on that. If you could look back now and reflect on the life that you've led, what would be the best moment for you? And also, moving forward now, what do you want your legacy to be? Because I feel sometimes we can be a little bit glib when we talk about legacies.
Yeah.
Oh, there's got to be a legacy from this sport, whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, what you're doing and what Chris is doing, for example, you've already got a legacy there. So I'd be interested to know those two things. When you reflect back to the past and looking to the future, what would you like it to be?
So I'm not sure if you've ever read The Alchemist. And when you go on the first part of The Alchemist, he goes on the adventure of the ego. So at different times in my life, if you'd ask me, then of course I'm going to say, "Oh, being a world champion, that's like the ego part of it all." And actually, my best memory, my best moment is the training sessions. I loved to train. I wasn't a born competitor. I actually loved going out before the sunrise, training, like doing 100 miles on the bike as the sun is rising, or being on a ski slope in Chile and skiing the last line of a day when the sun is setting. Those are my most favorite, best moments, because I think with me regarding sport, it was more of a dance with myself, not to try and beat other people. So I actually liked the more adventure, the skiing, running backcountry, climbing, trail run, all that stuff, where it's you in the mountain, because the mountain always humbles you to be like, well, you're never going to be bigger than the mountain. So I guess growing up in the mountains, so that's where I think, wow, that's what I really love, those moments. And then the legacy thing for me is like, I sit with you in the fence with that. I'm just like, I have one intention every day, and it's to make people smile. And if I can make people smile and feel joyful moments, then that gives me contentment.
Yeah, I understand that completely. From what you're doing, though, I know you want to raise awareness for cancer and cancer research as well. Are you going to be doing, any more? Because you've already done so much, in the past. What would you like to do now? Or if you've got a message to anyone out there who may be suffering, or maybe like yourself has had a spinal tumor, what would you say?
I want to keep smashing it until my final breath. So when I get out of here and I finish this book, I want to get that out and push that. Then if I'm in a wheelchair, maybe I can do a marathon in a wheelchair with my chin, just push the chin. I want to go skiing again in a sit ski. And I basically just want to live every breath until there's no more breaths left. And if somebody is going through this as well, you know, there is no right and wrong way to deal with it. If you want to sit and scream at the top of the hill and cry, that's okay. If you want to go and do crazy stuff, like it's so individual and so complex. I don't think there is a coping strategy when you're given that news. But the one thing is, the thing that I realize out of all of this, the most important thing: friendships, family, love.
And you feel you sound, and you said it so well at the beginning. You sound like you are happy with the life that you've led, despite the obvious challenges.
Yeah, if I could change it, I would. I don't want to be in this situation, but I can't change it. But I just don't want to be angry. That was always my thing. I don't want to be why me and be upset about it all. Life happens, and actually the real beauty in life is impermanence. Impermanence is everywhere. Nobody lives forever. And I look at the people, people like Doddy, people like Davey, all these other people, going through the M&D stuff as well, and cancer people, Chris. It's like, I guess part of life is, if you're going to love in life, you're also going to experience grief. Yeah. And it's the yin yang, and impermanence is everywhere, and impermanence in life is part of the cycle of life. And I think feel blessed that I've managed to get to a level where I can understand that, which makes me think, well, this will be my impermanence. And I almost don't see it as death. I see it as transitioning.
Yeah. Do you know how long you'll be staying in hospital? You staying in for the foreseeable?
No idea. Yeah, no idea. I said to my wife, think of it as a big, massive jigsaw puzzle, a Michelangelo jigsaw puzzle, and it's on the table, and we're just moving the pieces around, and it's pretty overwhelming. And maybe in like a few weeks, we'll have a bit more of a picture, and then just to take it. And I'm a great believer that all we have is the eternal now. No, tomorrow doesn't exist. The past is gone. We're only ever in the eternal now. So if you can stay in the eternal now and be still, then you can accept whatever the eternal now is presenting.
Yeah. There's just a few more questions, as you've been really kind to give me a lot of your time. We spoke previously about Davey. You've mentioned him, Davey Steve.
Yeah.
And what he's going on to achieve, becoming the first, I believe, first person, not just first man.
MBE.
Davey will certainly be the first man to do that, as a fellow Paralympian, to do what he's doing with so little training time as well, because Davey decided over dinner with Tommy, his twin brother, in late December 2024, that somehow he was try and make the Paralympics in 2026 with not being a part of it at all. His story's amazing, isn't it?
It's just madness, and it ticks all the boxes of, like, I'm not even surprised. It doesn't even, like, I'm not even shocked. I'm just like, yeah, well, why wouldn't you do that? Because you just have that mindset, and I just thought that you've set your target on that, and you're just like, that's what I'm going for. And I followed the whole journey online, and I just thought, when I see him put his jacket on and sit there with that big smile on his face. I thought, you know what, no one deserves it more, my friend. Go out there, have a ball, just live it, just do it. So I'm like, it made me so happy to see that. And yeah, and also, you know, he's rewriting the rule book, right, of MND. He's, you know, the stuff that he's doing on the bike and, you know, going out to the games and competing. And I know he was a snowboarder as a junior, so I know that he's well versed in competitive boarding. But just to basically not sit back and go, well, you know what, I'm not going to be defined by this. I'm still in control.
Yeah, totally. And of course, the Paralympics coming up shortly. So we be glued to that?
I'll keep my eye on it. Yes, I'll keep my eye on it. I like to keep an eye on what's going on out there, and hopefully we get some decent results. Scott Meenick is a good friend of mine, and I remember when Scott Meenick and we were in Sochi together actually, and we started to discuss about biathlon and cross country, and that sort of was like a bit of a sort of set off on him on that journey. So to see him now being in potential medal positions and smashing it, so I'll always keep a little eye on Scott and just keep an eye on what's going on with everybody. But it's I love my sport, so I'm not going to watch it. And let's be honest here, I've not got any excuse. I can't get out of bed. Sorry about that.
Do love your sense of humour. Did you not almost make the bobsleigh team for the Paralympics? Or was it the Olympics?
Oh, it was the
2000
Olympic team, yeah, but I wasn't any good. It wasn't any good. Yeah, it was a pipe dream that never came to fruition.
Oh,
Yeah, I was pretty far off.
well, but the fact that you did that, though, I mean, that takes a hell of a lot of guts. There's one sport I look at and I'm like, I'm not sure I could do that one.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I was too scared. First time down a sled, I was like, I don't want to do that again. No, thank you. Thank you for all the support. And it's always nice to feel connected to Scotland. So that always brings me home. That was my dream after brain surgery, was to get back up to Scotland. And I've not quite made it yet, but I'm not giving up on that hope either.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that just as one of the final things, just with your brain surgery. Did you come out any differently from that in terms of your thinking? Because that was a major thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did, but then it all sort of resettled down again. There was a moment after the first brain surgery where I actually left my body and I was on the roof looking down on my body and then the only time I returned to my body is if someone touched me. So that was quite scary. I felt like I was in between two worlds, but I just felt like it wasn't my time at that moment, and I got an extra 3 months before all this happened, and I'm just very grateful that I got that 3 months.
Wow, seriously, do you think that, because people talk about that, don't they? Quite a lot, actually, like looking down on your body. Do you think that was the brain playing, nonsense with your head, as it were, or do you think that maybe there was something else to it? Do you think that?
Well, I'll give everyone their opinions, because I think you could sit on three fences. You could say it's due to your brain just being cut open and prodded, and you could say it was due to anaesthetic, or you could say it's due to a higher power and you're actually between two worlds. So depending on if you're science, faith, whatever you may be, I lean on the fact that I thought I was between two worlds.
Wow. So it's not quite as far as saying, like, some people say that they died and for a minute or whatever,
Yeah.
and they looked down.
Yes. I didn't feel like I was dead. I just felt I was in between these two worlds.
That's amazing. Did it last for a while, or was it a kind of momentary thing? And you obviously remembered it when you woke up, right?
Yeah, because my wife shook my hand and she said, "Do you know who I am?" I opened my eyes and I said, "Yeah, you're Angela." And then as soon as she looked on my hand, I closed my eyes and drifted back up to the ceiling again. But I can't tell you. Could have felt like 3 days, 3 hours. I don't know how long I was in that space. I have no idea.
God. Yeah, because I haven't really asked you about that. So that was October, right? Last year when you had the.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Sober, yeah.
You just started feeling a bit rough, and then basically.
Started feeling a bit rough, a bit of sore head, blurred vision, a little bit withdrawing. A couple of people were like, "Oh, David's changed a little bit. He's not as talkative." And just a little bit, just then I started getting sore heads and stuff like that. And then when we were in London, we went in and said, "Look, my oncologist is like, you need to get a brain scan," because Angela's sister phoned my hospital team and they're like, "Get him in now." And they scanned it and there was a tumor the size of an orange in the prefrontal cortex. And then there was one at the top of the brainstem and then one at the back of my brain. And then all I remember is being told that news, and my whole body just shut down. And then I was either laughing nonstop or crying. And my brain had moved 15 millimeters with the tumor compressing the whole brain. So
It's amazing
that
that you
was a
can,
very lucky call.
yeah, to like there's something the size of an orange, and to not know about that. It must have been there for a while.
I think it was probably metastasizing for years, to be honest, Heather. I mean, it could have been metastasizing for 5 years, 6 years, maybe even longer. But because my primary tumor was spinal, I only get spinal scans. There was no real reason to do the brain. And I was high functioning. It wasn't like I was having headaches and stuff. I was functioning in the sport arena every day.
It does make it even more incredible, the fact that you were still able to function and do all the sport that you were doing.
Yeah, well, my funny thing was I beat my friend at golf with one arm and I had 3 brain tumors. So I told him he might as well give up.
Get that on a plaque.
Yeah.
Did they cut them out, or was it just radio? How did they treat them?
No, they cut the first one out, and then that was on the 10th of October. And then on the 15th of October, I had another emergency surgery because there were some blockages with fluid. And on the 16th of October, I got an Uber home. And then 3 weeks later, I was back in the gym.
That is unbelievable that, your body can still do that, right? That is amazing. And you didn't have any problems?
That's why I've just pushed on.
Yeah.
Always just push on. Always push on.
Yeah, you're a remarkable man, David.
Thank you,
really
Heather.
are. And your wife, Angela, sounds like a remarkable lady.
Yeah, she is. She holds the ship together.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think I've said everything. I'm just very humbled that you wanted to have the conversation.
So what are you going to basically just see what happens from here on in and stay in London?
Yeah.
London's probably
I'll
the
just
best.
roll the dice and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just my little eternal now bubble, and whatever's happening in the moment, I'll just deal with it in the moment. And every day the sun rises and sun sets, and I'll just see what I can do.
Look after yourself, David.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
Be thinking of you.
No, thank you so much.